Well, look at that smiling face. Here on Author's Corner, we are thrilled to introduce you to George Quin. His book, Taking Anger Seriously, A Divine Answer. And the answers are in the Bible, and he talks all about that. And the work that he's done with inmates and so many other people is just wonderful. So, George, we're thrilled to have you on. I know you've got your book and your workbook. Would you hold that up so everybody could see it? Because I love the cover. Oh, look at that. I'm going to ask you about that in a second. So because anger, why the lion?
Well, I went to Bible college years ago. I'm a theologian. I love to teach the Bible. That's what I do. And I spend a lot of time studying. And so, however, I started to do jail ministry about 15 years ago. And walked into the jail, and I was faced with the issue of domestic violence. And I started looking at a lot of different studies to do, and anger topped the list, fruitfulness and some other things. But I got involved with angry people. And then in addition to that, I worked in the corporate world for about 30 years. And for about 12 of those years, I was in some severe relationships that provoked me. I never was really an angry person, but I became one. And so, it was a personal issue. And so I kind of was baptized in this world of anger, and I went to God's word. And I really felt like I needed God to get me through this. And I didn't know what it meant to control my anger, to how to view other people. I was like many other people out there that just winging it. We just do our best. But what I found in my studies was amazing. When you look at anger, you think you're dealing with this horrible thing, but it's kind of like putting a ring, a diamond ring. You used to go to the jeweler and they'd put the diamond ring by the black backdrop. It led me to some of the greatest and highest virtues of God, his grace and his mercy and his love. And so we read a lot of passages about loving your enemy, and we kind of take it with a grain of salt because that ain't gonna happen, kind of a deal. But when you look through the Bible, and this is what I began to discover, is this incredible goodness of God in the face of just the worst evils. And so that's what the study became about. It became really about the most intimate qualities of God that he has revealed himself in his word. But we don't really always hear that. We put another set of glasses on when we read the Bible, and we see things, we just overlook things. Like for example, Cain killed his brother, evil Cain. But God put a mark on him and protected him. And anyone that would avenge themselves on him was to get 7 times the punishment that Cain got. Let's go to something else. I didn't get that. We don't understand God's behavior toward wicked and evil people. But he doesn't destroy men prematurely. As a matter of fact, his judgments, extreme judgments, are very rare. But I dissected all of these things because you sort of have to. If you ask people about their anger, they use the Bible. They use God to justify that, and preachers alike. And so I think we overlook these and what we're doing is we're robbing ourselves of really a connection with God that we could have and that could really make a difference in our life. So without a question, God's nature, his mercy, his goodness, and his grace is the centerpiece of this book. So it's not just about anger. Anger management courses are about anger, and they leave God out of it, and they miss it too, just like us. And so I think a lot of are in anger management courses is really good teaching, the scientific, what happens to your neurons and how to handle certain things. I don't think those hurt, but to leave God out of the picture and his dignity and his grace and his self-control and his respect for men because they're created in the image of God, we're stealing from our lives, from ourselves. And God's patient with us. He sees all of this. I think God's out to destroy evil, and he knows he's dragging us through it. It's a tough world we live in. Jesus said it's impossible, but offenses would come. But the wonderful thing about it, he hasn't left us without the voice, without the help. I think God sees our anger, and he sees the problems that we have across the globe, and he really wants to help. And that's what my goal was with this book all along. And it grew and it changed, and I had to humble myself to God, and I'm glad I did. It's changed my life, and it's helped me. So if it was just theological and I was just teaching others to get better, I just don't think it'd be the same book. So
for you, that's a good point. I was going to ask a follow-up question to that. You mentioned it, that both in the corporate world and just what you were dealing with in life, you realized, wow, all of a sudden, I'm not you even said it, I'm not an angry person, but now I'm feeling these things. Yeah. What about this? And so you dug really deep. And it's like you said, I bet people watching this probably even know a verse or two. It's like you think an eye for an eye. And when you look at things on the surface, absolutely, that's how you take it. It doesn't mean that you don't pay attention to biblical verses and you don't know anything, but you diving deeper, it gave you, and you can feel it and you can see it. You have this sense of calm. So you know how I would say, and you can tell us in that journey, you approach anger or how those feelings could bubble up in you differently, don't you?
I do. And so I still catch myself off guard. We have neuron memory. We react the same way. Those feelings don't go away. The simple answer that God tells us to do is control our anger. Nobody wants to do that. They want to fix the problem, and they want to stop the issue. And you're not going to stop it. There are going to be offenses in this world. What we need to do is learn to control our anger. First of all, God has a track record that we can see his love from the beginning. We think of God as an angry God in the Old Testament, loving God in the New. No, God was love all along. He has a great track record. If we'll read the small print, if we'll hear what he wants to tell us and not just jump over things, he'll lead us right. Like, for example, you mentioned eye for an eye. People think, hey, well, that's brutal, man. It's never happened in the history of Judaism or in the Bible. And that's not what Moses said. Moses didn't say take eye for an eye. He said give an eye for an eye. It wasn't for the victim to get from, but that's our natural energy. No, it was for the criminal to give an eye for an eye. And the next verse explains it in detail. It says, if a master strikes the eye of his maidservant or his servant, and they lose their eye, he shall let them go free for the sake of the eye. No eye was taken. And so, and I've heard that quoted to me so many times, but there was just, every time I turned over these rocks and looked at them, it revealed a very consistent practice of goodness and a behavior that is really far beyond us. Can God actually lift us up to his level? Well, I don't think these things are new. If you talk to a lot of Christians, you look down through history, there's been tremendous men and women who have suffered kindly in the face of their enemies, that have lived out this life that we're talking about. The problem is we don't really teach it a lot, and we were kind of left on our own to really follow God by his Spirit, and that is legit. But if we could be taken by the hand of God and led and instructed through life and brought to this place where we truly just submit to him, even under these dire offenses that we face. And that's what happened to me. I was ready to put a pipe across the guy's face. I ran away. I said, God, what is happening to me? What is happening to me? I'd already been through 7 years of Bible college. Well, it's one thing to put it here. It's another thing to get it right. And so I think this is what needs to happen with all of us. And I hope that this book does supply, a lot of people they want to hear it and they don't get it and they need help. Not everybody's a theologian. And so this book really, I've just made a heartfelt effort to try to communicate these truths in the right way, in a way that honors God and fair-minded with great reason, to see this wonderful consistency of God throughout the Bible. It's there. I don't think we have to dig too hard. The main thing is we have to accept it. And there's a lot of things that God asks us to do that we're just like, well, that ain't gonna happen. That's just our base point. And we get used to that stance. And so I would encourage and challenge people, let it happen. You will not dislike your life for letting God raise you to a higher state of morality and dignity and love and respect for people. This is it's really an incredible thing. And we are seeing this with the men in prison. It's amazing. My wife and I go into prisons. We have an incredible time. They're building the church in prisons. I can't begin to tell you the stories, but if you want one, do you want one?
I want one. I was going to ask you that. Please tell us one, because really hundreds of people have been touched by you and your work, how you went down that path. So yes, give us a story.
Well, we go into the Beto unit in Texas. It was the second worst unit. While we were there, and this was with Kairos Ministries, they have a chapel that is 3 gymnasiums. It's as big as our church. We have a big church. They pack it out on Sundays. The music, second to none. The worship. The men they don't shortchange God. They're really trying to obey him. They don't like hypocrisy. They don't live with it well, not in prison. And all this works for them. They have time. And so when they bring in discipleship times, these men get discipled and they grow. While we were there, listen to this, we sent out 41 men, inmates, as missionaries into the other pods. God's at work. That's what Nancy and I are going to become, as certified volunteer chaplain assistants this summer. We're scheduled for some security classes. And it's just going to allow us to be a pastor. They have a lot of people that come in, they need more meat, they need more training. Since we've established our program as a anger management program, and we have pastoral status, we come in and we're able to work with other chaplains and help build up their men. Men love to come in, get their notebooks out and study. They are there, they have time, they want it to count. And most of these men that are even unbelievers or gangsters and all whatever, it is amazing. I went into another unit in Tulia and we taught 35 Christians. Well, the chaplain said, when we go next door to the Wheeler unit, Mr. Quinn, is it okay if we don't bring in the Christians? I've got a lot of men over there that have anger problems. So he brought in 84 men, 14 of them were Christians. The rest were gang members and people that had anger problems. So we just started through the book, went through the journey of it, just started showing them how God was. And at the end of the course, I just said, so what are we going to do? Are we going to look this incredible opportunity in the face of humbling ourselves before God who made us and gave us breath? Are we going to waste it all away on our own agendas? I want to ask anyone here to just stand up publicly and say, I will live out the love of Jesus Christ. I was hoping there'd few. I put myself on the spot. All 84 men stood up.
Wow.
And look, this was controversy for them. They have ideologies that this conflicts with. You could see them wrestle with these things during those 3 days of ministry. But I think God has this side of him that's just so appealing and so powerful. Jesus said, if we lift him up, he'll draw men unto him. So, yeah, I think this is a great book. I think it's a great opportunity for God, for the gospel. We make no apologies about it. We're not asked to. They've approved this to be taught to any person in TDCJ. And so we're distributing this book and the videos. We videoed it in prison. It's fun. We're excited about this. Nancy and I are getting to do some really wonderful and fun things. Heartbreaking. There are a lot of lives that are lost and hurt. And the other side of the anger is dealing with angry victims. And it hurt. We hurt for people, and God does too. God feels their pain, but he doesn't shorten his command to us to control our anger and to love our enemy. He just really doesn't. He knows what we need. Yeah.
For you, so beautifully said. So for you, with the book, and then you have the workbook, that's kind of the thing of how do you cement. You hear something like you come in and wow, the testament of the 84 standing, not even Christian, and then just standing up and like, wow, that shows the power of how you are a great orator, a great chaplain, a great pastoral. You have pastoral advice that you can give out because you absolutely were given that gift. So the idea of the workbook, I would imagine, is also to kind of cement that and to be able to work through whatever the anger is, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, this workbook, we put hours into this. It has some other lessons in it, a beginning and an end and how it works. But there's at the end, and this is what we need to know. My old path, why I behaved like I did. My new belief, what's changed? And then my new path, how do I live this out? And then there's a prayer at the end of every chapter. So we help the men with their relationship with God and with what the principal truths that are dealt with in each chapter. There are 10 questions, just 10, that they go through. Some of them have the pages marked in the book, and you can do it either with the book, the course, or the book. But this is really if someone's got a serious habitual or bitter anger, this is really great. It just allows you, look, all of this takes time. No one just says, hey, this takes us buying in, accepting, believing, walking out these things and getting better and growing. No one should feel bad because they don't get their handle on their anger overnight. I'm amazed at some that do. Some do. But overall, it's not the high percentage. Other people have to walk this out like I did and just kind of walk with God and learn to figure it out. But the workbook is wonderful. The men get the workbook in the prison, and they get me or the videos, and we just get to walk through this. It's an adventure. And that's what I kind of put on our website in the back of the book is this is a grand adventure into the elite qualities and virtues of God's personality, of which we are all benefactors. And so, and I don't know that I'm a great orator, or preacher, but you can't lose if you really capture God's personality and his temperament and his love. You just can't lose. It's a winning deal. I can't really attract people to me, but God, he's pretty irresistible. He really is. So
well said. So you're saying it throughout this, but what do you hope? And people are watching this. So you're obviously helping so many of the people in the prison world, but other people too. So somebody watching, somebody with that issue says, wow, I could take action, I can go deeper. I want to be able to do that. What do you hope they take away when they read the book, when they read Taking Anger Seriously, A Divine Answer, which you can get everywhere, including on your website? But what do you hope they take away?
Well, first of all, a love for God, a respect for God, and some of the confusion to be taken away. We have so many passages. We think the flood is God's wrath. Sodom and Gomorrah is God's wrath. We actually deal with these things, those major things that people hold on to, that are their sacred cow, if you will, of why I'm angry. We kind of break those down. I hope that people can see that, well, things just aren't like I thought they were, and that they will accept God and respect Him, and then bend the knee and follow Him. That's our main thing, of course. For many Christians, I would just, and I think we see this across the globe in Christianity for the most part. You see a lot of Christians embrace God and humble themselves and show a much more gentle behavior. But what would be awesome? It would be awesome is if, number one, the church really gravitated toward this higher dignity. And then to spread this message. I've had people read the book that weren't Christians that said, wow. What if we did put God's fingerprint on our world of self-control, of love, respect, and mercy, where nobody's fool? God wants us to be wise as serpents, harmless as doves. There's a balance. There's things that we have to learn there. But what if we did raise this level of behavior? What if we established in the earth this understanding? And one of the things that we want to do, I've been in a lot of prisons, never really felt the danger, but my wife was a school teacher for 24 years. And we've actually gone into some school systems in small schools, rural America, if you will, where they had kids that were kicked out of school that were violent. We felt threatened around 14 and 15-year-old boys that we never felt around prisoners. They have guards and they have people that help them along. Can't do anything with kids. They got to break the law. And one of the big problems that's growing in America is our juvenile justice system. I'm on the board with Hope in Christ. I'm helped to serve there, but that's what they're doing, is they're taking these young men out of the system and they're helping them along. But what if we were able to just capture more people and set in a standard and help others grow? We could make a difference. I don't think we have to go out in flames like we predict. I think Satan's going to raise his ugly head. We're going to see those evils. But God's going to build his church. Jesus said, I will build my church in the gates of hell. He kind of downplays that a little bit. We got all the ugly stuff we see in Revelation. But I think God's going to hold his diamond of his church and his people with his qualities against that dark backdrop. And this will be God's greatest glory, I think, even in these last days. But this is what we hope we can do, is to lift people.
Wow. If people want to go to your website, again, so wonderfully said, I think you are an incredible orator. I'm going to give you have the gift. There's no doubt about it. And I'm sure anyone who has heard you or anybody who is watching this would agree with that. Where can people go to find out more about you?
TakingAngerSeriously.com, our website. And, it's all there. We kind of over-communicate a little bit in details how all this happened. They want to know about us and what we do. And so you can see a picture of my wife there. She's pretty. Yeah, awesome. I'm the bald guy.
Well said. George Quin, I could talk to you all day long. Thank you so much.
Thank you.